Welcome back to the show. We got a great one lined up. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show. You can follow us on X, YouTube, and digperspectives.com. And you can also follow us in the Freedom Zone. Click the join button under any title or go in the description box and click and join Patreon. Same price, same perk. Get all your daily videos with zero Google ads and extra content. And today we're going into what could be a coming collapse to the financial system affecting the dollar. We're going into that deep today, so you'll want to join us inside. Great way to support the channel. Let's get started here. It's this. It is $3.45 trillion market cap for crypto. Now the market's up 0.4. Bitcoin 105,700 plus. Ethereum 2,600 plus. XRP $2.22, and it's up 3.2 on the 24. Still off 5.1 on the 7-day. We will take a look at some price targets and see exactly where we need to close in order to keep that bullish sentiment. So let's take a range of price. Excuse me. Between 2015, $2.15 and $2.23. You know, this is what you sound like and feel like when you get back from the West Coast and then you're up till 5 in the morning before you get tired. Yeah, body clock's off a little bit. So we're going to get it adjusted, but we appreciate your patience. The other thing I want to tell you is, you guys know I've been talking about Caleb and Brown. Check it out for yourself. I tell you, I had somebody approach me, and honestly, it felt like they were a plant or just trying to be a problem child, which is not unheard of. And they were talking, you know, I think that Caleb and Brown could be like the next FTX. I was like, really? That's interesting. I'm thinking in my mind, now, what information would you be using to formulate that? So that's how you know you're dealing with a troll. But nonetheless, it's like, look, you make your decision. I did the due diligence. I've watched this company for 3 years. I have a lot of my wealthy friends that have been telling me about this company for years. So you do due diligence, but ask yourself, do you want free institutional grade custody? Or how about customer service? How about human customer service? How about setting an appointment and talking to someone anytime you want to? Because you cannot do that on any other crypto platform that I am aware of, but you can do it on Caleb and Brown. And the best way to get your free account is to go to xrpwealth589.com. You're going to get the best night's sleep you've ever had in your life. Take a look at this. I want to start right here. This is a feel-good moment, ladies and gentlemen. Being able to put money in the hands of so many hard-working people. And I have a feeling there's quite a few people in this picture right here who are going to do some remarkable things in the XRP Ledger ecosystem. And it might even be this little cool-looking little doggy down here. Yeah, no doubt about it. Listen, shout out to all the amazing people who showed up to pitch their projects. And I tell you, I got to hear about a lot of people's projects because I was doing a lot of back channel stuff. I couldn't sit for all the pitches, but believe me, I had some people fill me in, and I am super, super excited for everyone that had a chance to win and present. It's only going to get bigger. And here is a shout out. I'll do this throughout the next week or so. You know, I'll get some more pictures as they come in. And don't worry, by the way, we've got straight fire on these panels that we had on stage. I will be getting that material cut up and dealt with and released as soon as possible. But trust me, I wanted it all yesterday done, but it's going to take a week or two to get this done. So just be patient. It's just more evidence that when we put this thing together, it literally is just my wife and I. So just give me some time to get it done. I promise you, you will get it. And boy, is it fire. But shout out to Joni and Steve Gilbratson here and my beautiful wife. And we got a chance to see them. Absolutely lovely. I also realized, too, I did get a picture with Joni and Steve and the one and only OG, James Rule XRP. I'll be putting that out, too. That's how busy I've been. But shout out to James. So great to get to see him. I wanted to spend more time talking to him. But let me just play this really quick from XRP Las Vegas and part of Brad's panel here, because Brad acknowledges, as Ripple has done quite openly for a very long time here. And as you remember, in 2019, I flew to Swell in Singapore and asked them directly on stage if the XRP, talk about it being serving as like the bank or coin in Bretton cutting wood. So this is not exactly breaking news, but it's great to hear Brad say it openly from the stage.
Some, even in the XRP family, it's like, look, the Bitcoin community is not our enemy. They really are not. If they do well, we're going to do well. We might do better. It's just like, it's not a zero-sum game. And I think the one thing I learned, I was in Silicon Valley for 24 years. The one thing you learn is tech is not a zero-sum game. We're going to grow the pie. And David Schwartz was up here yesterday talking about rewiring the entire banking system and what this looks like maybe in 10 years or 20 years. We underestimate how big that change is and how profound it is. And we get there by being collaborative and working together, not against each other. Sorry, I'll shut up.
Looking forward, and I found really interesting just in how many ways and how many different ways you're working sort of across the landscape. Certainly, you look at the Hidden Road transaction. I mean, frankly, just you're kind of unshackled now. Our conversations now are more about what's going to happen than what has happened. Maybe though you can talk a little bit about that.
There you have it. We're changing the global financial system, and it's not a theory. Yeah, love hearing that one. Look, this is not breaking news, right? I mean, for anybody new in the space, obviously it might feel brand new, but the reality is we've been here 8 years now. So this is the plan. This is exactly what's happening, and it's coming to fruition now. And now the political tailwinds are going to take us across the finish line to see it in inception, to see the adoption inside the financial system. Isn't that ultimately the goal? Well, here's a reminder right here from Christian Carlo about where exactly we're going.
Ryan, I predict to you now within 5 years, virtually most of the money moving around the world, most of the dollars moving around the world will be moving on tokenized digital networks. And within 10 years, I predict to you that there won't be a securities offering, a debt offering, an equities offering of any significance that's not tokenized on chain. And those securities offerings that remain in an analog state will be like those bearer bonds in DTC's vault, the coupon clipping bonds that don't matter anymore. Non-tokenized, non-digitized securities will be like those old dusty photo albums, and securities on chain will be like the digital photos on your smartphone. Ryan,
there you have it right there. So that's where we're going, from the former CFTC chairman and the head of the Digital Dollar Project. How about that one? Yeah. And here's Anthony Pompliano, and I want you to listen. Crypto Insight UK, if you're not following this guy, I don't know what you're doing. You're missing so much. The clip below to me just screams Ripple and XRP. It does to me too. And they're discussing, well, why don't I just play it? Tokenization. You listen. He certainly ain't talking about Bitcoin.
Saw Robinhood recently come out and say that they're trying to get some tokenization stuff done. We've seen Superstate actually partner with a public company to do that. What is your take on this? And is it just a foregone conclusion?
Tokenization is a foregone conclusion. And I remember the first time I saw a presentation on this. I don't know if you've ever had Sandy Call on the on your show. I think she's at Franklin Templeton right now. She was at Citi at the time, and I attended an event. And I would say this is when I first started to get interested in the blockchain rather than Bitcoin. So this is between 18 and 20. And I went to an event, and she took through her vision of tokenization. So I'm going to say this is 2019. And it was pretty compelling about giving access to investments to all individuals and being able to, from a seller's perspective, being able to sell your house and not have to wait for one buyer because you have a very expensive house and you want to sell it, but actually having people go, you know what, I want to diversify my real estate investments. I'd love to have a little piece of Bergen County, New Jersey, which is one of the places that just said that they're going to start going to tokenization on deeds, which again has implications from a cost perspective for the governments of having all these things on the blockchain. But then from a seller, it's the ability of increasing demand dramatically because you may not be able to find enough sellers for this stuff. I think
that's exactly right. And that is a new paradigm to where we are going, fractional ownership, right? So yes, there is a paradigm shift coming. And, it's funny to note, you can't do this with Bitcoin. in Bitcoin's network, not directly on the layer one. So that's where that is. But meanwhile, what do we see in relationship to that conversation? Payments were the #1 transaction type on the XRP ledger last month with 53.7 million payments. That is fantastic. That is what I'm talking about. See, because at some point here, what is this paradigm shift? The paradigm shift is shifting from speculation to utility. And the entire market is going to do this once we see legislation drop. Once we get all the legislation passed, it's all fun and games for the people that want to have fun and be a maxi right now. But if you're not a utility maxi, when all of this legislation is done and it's time to put innovation inside the financial system, utility will be the price driver not only of XRP, I believe, but of this entire market. So, with that being said, the reminder is, Bitstamp, Ripple, undisclosed sum, right? We know all of this. And what else do we know? Bitstamp by Robinhood. We know Robinhood's getting Bitstamp. So the knee bone's connected to the leg bone, ladies and gentlemen. That's what's going on here. Bitstamp holds over 50 active licenses, registrations globally, and brings customers across the EU, UK, US, and Asia to Robinhood. What else do we know? We know that Bitstamp's building a derivatives platform with the help of Ripple, right? And then what do we know here from Reese Merrick? Big congratulations to Bitstamp. The entire Bitstamp on the acquisition by Robinhood. I personally managed a Bitstamp relationship for many years at Ripple and confirmed they're an incredible team and have built a phenomenal global exchange. This is the next chapter, is well-deserved and exciting for the whole industry. That's what we're talking about here, ladies and gentlemen. That's what we're talking about. Well, it gets better, right? It gets better as we go, because now Ripple USD is now recognized crypto token under the DFSA's regime in Dubai. Real USD is enterprise grade, compliant, built for real utility, another milestone as we expand our footprint in the DIFC and across the UAE. Another highlight of the same news here, Ripple's Real USD stablecoin will support the Dubai Land Department's blockchain initiative to tokenize real estate title deeds on the XRP ledger. Exactly what the guest on Anthony Pompliano's show was talking about. Are you kidding me? That's what's going on right now. Here's another clip. This is Reese Merrick again talking about DFSA is set to revolutionize cross-border payments for the UAE financial institutions, corporates, and their customers. Take a listen.
Congratulations on ticking all the boxes required by the DFSA and the DIFC. What does this mean for you and the team at Ripple?
Look, essentially, this is the first, we're the first blockchain-powered cross-border payment solution that have full approval and regulation to operate in the region, which is, extremely exciting, and certainly evidence is the forward steps that this region are taking to allow innovation to be able to flourish. So what does that mean? That means that we're able to service FIs, payment service providers, exchange houses, and other corporates to be able to utilize blockchain and crypto with their cross-border settlement. And, being one of the largest hubs for cross-border settlement, we see a huge amount of interest there.
You said it, Reese. We are the hub word, that's
Absolutely.
for sure. How often do
the hub word, right? Oh, yeah, absolutely. Ripple's Real USD is now recognized by Crypto Token in Dubai. DFSA has approved a stablecoin for use in the DIFC, Dubai's financial hub with 7,000 plus global firms. How about that one? Yeah, that's why we did it that way. And Ripple's been given the authorization. Take a quick listen to Reese Merrick again.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Entrepreneur TV Middle East. We're here day 2 at FinTech, and with me is Reese. He is the managing director at Ripple. Thank you so much for coming once again. Lovely seeing you.
Great to be here.
How's everything at Ripple?
Awesome. Yeah, great things happening. So we recently announced that we just had and received our DFSA license. So we're a fully licensed payment service provider for cross-border payments here in the region. And we're the first blockchain-enabled payment provider, which is huge.
Amazing. How do you build that trust in such a decentralized area such as blockchain?
Look, I think Ripple have been in the market for a long time now. We're often viewed as the adult in the room as it comes to blockchain and crypto. And I think...
Boy, I don't think there's a soul that can hear that and not think of DAI, right? Shout out to the GOAT, baby.
It's early engagement with regulators. You know, I think the UAE is phenomenal because they open the doors to be able to provide an overview of what you're looking to do, how you're looking to do it. They want to learn, and they want to actually put a framework in place which allows businesses like Ripple to come here and build.
Right. Is there any sort of fintech trend that you love and that you hate?
Ooh.
One that you would like completely want to remove and one that you would want to advance even further?
Look, I think I'll talk about what I love. I love the fact that there's certain regions and geographies where they are embracing it and enabling it. I think UAE is kind of one of those areas. I think that payments is the killer use case as I see for fintech, and I think that we're going to see some huge growth there.
Great. What sort of future plans can we see for Ripple coming on the horizon?
Continuation of what we're doing. We've grown 50% over the last couple of years here in Dubai. We've just got our license, which enables us to serve FIs, large payment service providers in the region for cross-border payments. And I think we'll see a continuation of stable coins and custody. So lots going on.
Great stuff.
Lots going on is right, ladies and gentlemen. And here is another stab at a lot going on. I want to tell you that. And it's this. It's Federal Reserve Jerome Powell says this.
Had emerged from World War II as a global economic superpower. The Bretton Woods Agreement placed the U.S. and the Fed in a central position in the global economy. Our mission then, as it is now, was to serve the American people. But it was clear at that moment that the Fed needed to have better knowledge of global developments to achieve our dual mandate goals. A 1948 memo proposing to create the division stated, quoting, "Problems of international economics and finance have become increasingly large, complex, and significant in recent years, and our foreign economic relations will undoubtedly continue to give rise to issues of the first magnitude." That rare economic forecast that has turned out to be spot on. 75 years later, it remains critical that the Fed understand the policies and practices of other governments and central banks and their implications for the U.S. economy and for financial markets. Exchange rate policy, of course, is now firmly in the hands of the U.S. Treasury.
Exchange rate policy is now formally in the hands of the U.S. Treasury. Exchange rate policy is now in the hands of the U.S. Treasury. You know, the same U.S. Treasury Greg Kidd introduced Ripple to.
However, the end of the Bretton Woods era in the 1970s fundamentally changed the conduct of monetary policy, as policymakers had to understand the effects of potentially more volatile movements of the U.S. dollar on American families and businesses. Understanding global trade and capital movements has only grown in importance since 1950, as we saw during the pandemic.
Now, with all of this, the first thing I thought was, now he's not talking about this for nothing. I believe at some point FX rates will need to be adjusted. This is why you hear me talk about Plaza Accord and now the Mar-a-Lago Accords, a new Bretton Woods. This is why I say these things, because the Plaza Accord was where they adjusted, devalued the U.S. dollar to take the stress off of France, Germany, and Japan, and one or two other countries. So I believe at some point the FX rates will need to be adjusted again, and a new synthetic FX market will be put in place, ultimately allowing XRP to sit as a bridge between currencies and other tokenized pairings on the XRP ledger while being price controlled like oil through the use of U.S. digital asset stockpile. A man can dream. Let's take a look at what dreaming here is. Look, we need to get at 230 at least. The first key level to watch is 230, a confirmed support zone to solidify the bullish case. That's what we want to see. And once this claimed, the next major target will be 265, which could signal stronger momentum and a clear bullish sign. So these little wins are what matter right now until we get all the legislation that we need. Listen, it's not financial advice from me or anyone else. It's just my digital perspectives. We're going into the Freedom Zone. Come on in. All right, welcome back.